Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And good evening, everybody. It is a Sunday night, and it is time for episode 342 of the Ron and Brian podcast. Brian, I called you Ron. I don't know why. Brian, how the hell are you tonight?
Just doing splendid. Had a great weekend. Good to be home. Missing my lady. But you want to know something? If there's anything that is going to fill the gaping open wound that is my heart right now, it is this podcast. And I'm looking for you to just take your fist and just put it right through that hole, fill it up, just grind it in there, and make me whole again.
So your heart needs to be fisted, is what you're saying to me.
Ooh, that sounds very aggressive, Ron. I'm not really sure where you're coming with that kind of energy. We're recording this on a Sunday night. This is God's day. Okay.
Sorry,
you need to clean up that brain of yours.
All right. Well, let's calm down and let's get into it with Drink
of the Week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud. Drink of the Week. Crunch it.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the
Brian,
week.
what are you drinking this Sunday night?
I am supporting Bellwoods Brewery with a beer called Jelly King. Now, right here on the label, it says that it is a dry hopped sour ale with chili, lime, and salt. Even says over here, spicy margarita. Let me hold up what looks to be a hazy crushable beer. By the look of this, have you never had this beer?
I have not. I'm interested to see how it is.
Rob, this showcases the aromatic benefits of a generous dry hop, harnessing the prowess of lactic acidity. The Jelly King is a fermented embodiment of immediate gratification. Jelly King combines bright and juicy hop aromatics with a refreshingly tart base. Wasn't that your nickname back in college? And is bursting with notes of fuzzy peach, tangerine, grapefruit. Coming in with a 5.6% ABV, Beer Advocate gives this a score of 92, which is considered outstanding. I am very much looking forward to tasting this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jelly King from Bellwoods Brewery.
All right, take a sip. Let us know what you think about it. Wow, that's a reaction. Wow. Walk us through it, Brian. Walk us through all the feelings you're going through at the moment.
Okay, first, it's very light. It is not a heavy beer. It does not have any kind of like bittery aftertaste. You do get a very heavy lime flavor. You do sense very much that there is a tartness to it. And I'm not going to lie, that first sip, you do taste some spice.
All right, good. Take a second sip. See if it hits you the same way.
Yeah, I've got a second one lined up after this.
Nice.
This is a good beer.
All right.
Ron.
Yes.
Ron?
Yes, my friend.
What are you drinking?
So this week, much to my surprise, Brian, I was up in upstate New York, and I saw the good people at Treehouse Brewing Company out of Charlton, Massachusetts, have opened another tap room in Saratoga Springs. So I was able to pick up some of their beers, including this. This is their King of the Mountain Bock beer. It is their take on a classic German-style Bock. Its mild upfront malt notes are accompanied by soft carbonation and slight hints of earthier notes. I gotta get new glasses, including pine, resin, and tobacco. Dark cherry and semi-sweet caramel notes complement this bouquet with additional character reminiscent of Concord grape and grapefruit. This is clocking in at 5.5%. It's dark. It's got that Bock beer darkness to it. Let's see how this tastes.
Takes a sip. The man takes a sip. What does the man think?
It's good. I am not typically a fan of Bock beers, but this isn't as bitter as a lot of Bock beers. It's nice. It's smooth. I get the earthy undertones. It's a solid beer. I have more of these in the beer fridge. Might have to grab a second one for after dark. It's too soon to tell.
So. I have, what is the big one from Texas? Shinerbach?
I believe so, yes. Which we have brought to the show previously.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the Shinerbach. I remember drinking several of those when I spent some time in Dallas back in 1963. 1968.
At the Book Depository?
Yeah, that wasn't 1968. That was like 63, I believe.
History was never my strong suit.
And those that forget history are doomed to repeat it, just like you are repeating your championship reign, my friend.
There you go. 2 weeks into it. And let's get to a beef of the week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
All right. What's bothering me is I took Amtrak yesterday morning. Took it to go visit a very dear friend of mine who had invited me down to his house. My beef of the week is the very large man that sat across from me on that Amtrak train. I'm going to give you some more information. I'm going to tell you why it's my beef. And for this one, Ron, I'm asking you if you can opine as to whether you would have handled the situation the way I would have. It's almost a, what would Ron do? But also, is this a legitimate beef?
All right. I'm listening.
I'm on the train. When I book my seat, I take a four-top where all four seats are empty.
So is this a regular train or is this an Acela train?
This is an Acela train.
So you pulled out some of that ivory tower money, got yourself the tabletop on the Acela.
Quite wrong. The Acela, because it was an 8 o'clock train, this thing cost me $60. This was incredibly cheap.
Affordable.
So I found in the foretop sitting, I'm going in the direction of the train, facing forward. I took the seat by the window. We pull out of Penn Station, heading south, and we enter the great state of New Jersey. The great state of New Jersey, people. And as we pull into Newark Penn Station, the doors open. A large gentleman, and I don't mean overweight, but just a large gentleman. This guy,
tall man.
He looked like he had played football at some point. Was probably, I would estimate, about 6'4" or whatnot. Walked up to my foretop, sat down across from me, literally across from me, sitting next to the window. This man's knees were bumping into my knees. Train pulls out of Newark, continues its path forward. The man does not move. I was there first. I feel I have greater claim to the leg room in the aisle area. I felt that man should have moved over. No, he stayed where he was so that he and I, because I wasn't moving, I'm not going to be cucked. I'm not going to be cucked out of my own chair.
You're not going to be somebody's bitch. I get it.
I'm not sliding over. So the entire trip from Newark Penn Station into Philadelphia, we are literally stepping on each other and bumping knees. Now, normally I have to pay extra for that, but I did not want this. I wanted this man to, and also this is the key thing. Nobody took either seat by the aisle.
Right.
So those were open the entire time, and the man never moved. This was incredibly annoying to me, but because he was much larger, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to get kicked. I didn't want to get punched.
Right.
I didn't want to be assaulted. Ron, how would you have handled yourself?
I mean, I think to your point, you had possession of that seat.
Yes.
Possession is 9/10 of the law, I believe, or 99/100. I forget the
Somewhere
saying.
around there.
Listen, I think, yeah, I think if there were people sitting there, that would be one thing. But the fact that he had the ability to maybe just slide into that seat
Just
starting
could have
off,
slid.
I'm going to say this is a very reasonable beef. I
Okay.
will say, Brian, you are not out of hand on this one.
The number of times he stepped on my foot on the way down, and the number of times that I bumped into his knee. I mean, it was just
Right.
fucking ludicrous, and he wouldn't move. Really bothered me. That's my beef of the week, Ron.
All right, fair enough.
What's bothering you?
So this week, I mean, it was a busy week. I had a few beefs, but I'll go with the one that I think aggravated me the most. As I mentioned, I was in upstate New York for work earlier this week. Placed a bet on FanDuel, because they allow sports betting in New York. But they do this annoying thing, and I know you hate this as well. Most other betting apps, when you're in other states and you place a bet, it all stays on one bet slip.
Sure.
But FanDuel, you have to click the little drop-down menu. You have to choose the state. But this is not where the beef lies. The beef lies in the fact that I had made a 4-leg NCAA parlay. And again, with the hope that all 4 legs hit, but also with the hope if the first few legs hit, you can cash out and still make a decent amount of money.
Sure.
So, and this was like a $5 bet to return like $250. So decent payout. So the first 3 legs of the parlay hit. The third in last second fashion. The team was going to lose that I needed to win. They hit a 3-point shot at the buzzer to win by a point, clinching that third leg. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to cash out. I'm not going to roll the dice.
Of course.
Let me see what FanDuel is going to offer me to cash out. And I go in,
money.
and they apparently, I'm back in Pennsylvania at this point. They do not allow you to cash out a New York bet if you are not in the state of New York.
Correct. When you are operating in a multi-state environment, you cannot make decisions on bets in the state where you are not in, which is can you do that for other apps?
I don't know enough. I haven't bet enough in New York and then gone back home to know that. And then I needed my 4th game. I needed the college team, to win by between 1 to 10 points. They won by 14, blew the entire parlay for me. But what aggravated me even more is I had gotten this recommendation off of a gambling Twitter account that I follow. And as I go back on Twitter, the person who runs that account is just posting screenshot after screenshot of followers that cashed out after 3 legs, saying, hey, I got X amount of dollars. I had bet $10. I cashed out at 200. Like, I'm not saying I would have got the whole 250, but I guarantee after 3 legs, I probably could have cashed out for $100 plus.
Easily 100.
Nothing. And then I got to look at all of these people in states that would allow them to cash out, taking my money. I feel all of them were being paid with my money, with my $5. Just made me feel a little salty, a little bitter.
Sure, I can see that bother. Yeah, that's a worthy bother. That's a worthy bother.
Thank you. Both of us, a lot of times we can be petty. We understand that and we own it. This week, I think we both have actual grievances.
Sure, I believe so. Thank you.
All right, let's get into stories of the week, Brian. These are, as all of you longtime listeners know, stories that we each grab to make sure that we get to during this hour plus during the main podcast. Brian, what is your story of the week this week?
My story of the week this week is about safety in the kitchen with knives. As you know, loyal fans of the podcast know, I've had some rather unfortunate encounters with kitchen steak knives, and it has become how do I say this? It's a pet project of mine to just make sure that people understand just how dangerous kitchen steak knives are. Ron, do you have a photo of Landon Sturman?
I believe I do, right here, front and center.
Looks like Landon Sturman, good old Landon. He is in the hospital. He is a 10-year-old Australian boy who had a lucky escape after being impaled in the back by a steak knife. That's correct. Landon, much like Shane Gillis's uncle, Loves making a good grilled cheese at home. And what happened to him was he was making grilled cheese at home, tripped backwards onto an open dishwasher, and fell on a steak knife that
Oof.
lodged itself into his spine. Doctor said that he escaped paralysis by a few millimeters.
Wow.
After several hours of delicate teamwork at Perth Children's Hospital, orthopedic teams were able to remove the knife, and Landon has no lasting nerve damage. This is a remarkable story, but it just says how important it is to stack the dishwasher properly, never with the knife pointing up.
Well,
Always
first of
want
all,
to do
you
it
should
hand.
not put steak knives in the dishwasher to begin with. That's how
I
you
was yelled
dull
at.
you
I was
dull
yelled
them
at
that way.
last night for putting a steak knife in the
Exactly.
dishwasher.
But most definitely do not put a steak knife point up. I remember when I was a kid, my dad was emptying the dishwasher and he was taking taking the coffee carafe out of the top rack, slipped out of his hand. He went down to try and catch the carafe. There was a steak knife with point up, went right through his hand.
Ugh.
So don't do that, folks. That's our advice
Yeah.
of the day. Our
Be
PSA of the
careful.
moment.
Be careful when stacking your dishwasher. There is always a right way to do it and a wrong. Ron, what's your story of the week?
So my story, Brian, I could almost fall under fuck around and find out, but a woman from Canada learned a very obvious lesson while on vacation in Turks and Caicos. Do not mess with a 6-foot shark unless absolutely necessary. She apparently was snorkeling and attempted to get a picture with this 6-foot bull shark, and it bit her. She ended up losing both of her hands. This is a photo of her on the beach being tended to by other people on the beach to try and stop the bleeding. She apparently tried to, force the shark out of a little underwater enclosure that it was hiding in, and it decided to try and eat her. So she had one arm amputated below the wrist and the other halfway up her forearm. She has been flown back to Canada for additional treatment. Just a total of 88 shark attacks around the world last year, Brian. 24 of which were provoked by humans. So don't fuck with sharks, I think, is the takeaway, is the net of this story.
And I think that's an appropriate concern that we should all have. These are animals that are literally some of the most aggressive water-based mammals that are out there. They're looking to kill us all.
Right.
I watch Shark Week every year. I know.
I don't know if they're looking to kill us all, but they will definitely hurt us if needed. I mean, I've done swimming with sharks, with nurse sharks when we were on vacation. But I don't think if I encountered a shark just out in the open while I was snorkeling, I don't think that I would go up to it. Just for that very reason. I like having my hands.
Yeah, I would stay away from any kind of shark, which is why I wouldn't even jump in the water.
You're a land lover. You have often said that.
I do. Yes, I'm all about the land.
Do we want to talk about the Mississippi lieutenant governor passing out on the Senate floor? You loved this story, Brian. You enjoyed it. We can pull up some video from the New York Post showing Lieutenant Governor Hosemann. He's going down. He's fallen to the ground. He was at the podium. No. He drops. People rush over to assist him. Apparently people are now wondering if perhaps we're letting politicians stay on too long. This gentleman is 77 years old?
Yep. Listen, there's a reason why we make people retire at a certain age. This guy needs to retire. There's these types of health. This man's running our government. I mean, not my government. He's in Mississippi, but this man's making decisions that affect people. Listen, I'm not on a warpath against the elderly, but Jesus Christ, this is what?
I was just saying you're not technically on a warpath, but you've said things in the past that make me wonder.
Really?
You know,
It's hurtful.
why
It's
do you
very
keep calling me
hurtful.
hurtful?
Because you keep insulting me.
All right, that's fair. Lots of plane stories this week, Brian.
Yeah.
Ton of issues with planes crashing, falling apart, helicopters hitting planes. This last one was over a regional airport in Arizona on the 19th. Two planes colliding. Here is an image of the debris field that was left. Two people killed. The victims, as of press time, had not yet been identified. Apparently, it was related to a Cessna that landed, and another plane landed around the same time and impacted some terrain and burst into flames. So what is going on with planes lately, Brian?
Well, listen, planes, trains, and automobiles. It's the way to go. I don't know. I mean, I know that if you listen to our current administration in Washington, they're going to blame the DEI hires. They're going to say that it's people who are unqualified that were staffed into the FAA.
FAA, yes. You got it
Okay,
right.
good. Got that right. All righty. I'm on a roll here, people. If you talk to people at the FAA, they're going to say that they are woefully understaffed and they've got people that are responsible for way more flights going in and out of airports than one person should. And from what I've seen on 60 Minutes, the air traffic control is using software that is woefully antiquated.
Yeah.
It is software that is 30 years old, and they've not upgraded. It's dangerous. And then also, let's face it, there's also the human factor.
Right. I felt like that was something that Pete Buttigieg was supposed to tackle during his time as Secretary of Transportation. He had talked specifically about the airline infrastructure across the country. I don't think anything was ever done with that.
It's that's why we need somebody like Elon Musk to come in and really just swing a wrecking ball at all that is wrong, and rebuild it the right way. I believe SpaceX engineers are on it right now. They will fix our flight systems.
All right. Well, we will keep an eye out for that. The other week, everyone saw the video of the Delta plane that flipped onto its roof after a crash landing at a Toronto airport. Here is a shot of first responders helping people off the plane. Surprisingly, no one killed in this accident. Thankfully, so. So this week, flyers that were on that plane have been offered $30,000 with, quote, no strings attached from Delta. They can accept this money and still have the ability to take Delta to court. It is, I didn't realize this. How much do you think the passengers on the Miracle on the Hudson flight were given by the airline?
I'm going to say $75,000.
$5,000, Brian.
Jesus.
So inflation. You flip over a plane, now it's worth $30,000. So the payout to those 76 passengers on the plane could reach over $2.2 million.
So they're just saying, here's 30 grand. So
they're just saying, and again, they're not going to make them sign anything to not sue the airline, but I would imagine they're hoping that it will, hopefully convince enough of them to not sue the airline.
Do you think you think that these people have less legal standing if they take the money? Because I'm trying to think, why would I not take the money? Like, under what circumstances would I say, no, I don't want your 30 grand?
Yeah, and I mean, the airline has also paid for the medical bills for the 21 individuals that required hospitalization, and also reimbursed them for tickets to get back home. Listen, I I think you just take the 30 grand. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that are going to be traumatized for a very long time because of this.
Yeah.
Were this to happen to you, Brian, would you get back on a plane ever?
I mean, I have to believe I would.
You would
But
think the
damn, I
odds of
think I would be
something bad
traumatized.
happening to you on a plane twice would be even less than happening to you once. So you think you walk away from something like this and, you're good, but you never know. What was that story you sent me about the woman who the Yankees pitcher crashed his plane into her building? What had she survived prior to that?
I think it was another plane flight. Hold on. It was Corey Liddell, Ted Little, Ted. You're going to make me look this up.
Because that was some final destination type shit right there. And This is Billy's pet peeve. I bet this would be his beef of the week every week. You get in planes and trains like you get in a car. You don't get on any of them. See, I disagree because the plane and the train are a little elevated from the actual surface of the earth. So it feels like you're getting on them. Like I don't need a ladder or a step to get into my car. I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, I would. Ooh, you know what? I think we're arguing semantics here.
We are, but that's what we do a lot of the times. We're petty like that. But yeah, you had sent me the TikTok story about a woman who had survived some kind of crash, some kind of ordeal, and walked away and survived. And it was the Macy's Day Parade. The balloon that escaped and hit her and injured her, and she took her settlement from being hit by the parade balloon, and she bought an apartment
on the Upper East Side, which
just so happened.
Didn't she die like a month later? Didn't she die a month later?
No, that was another story. She wasn't home. She was like a half hour away from being home. Had she been home in her apartment, the plane crashing through it would have obviously killed her.
I remember when that plane crashed. I remember people immediately being like, "Oh my God, this is like 9/11 all over again."
Final plane story of the week. This is a question of plane etiquette. A gentleman posted this, I think, on his TikTok account, stating that the passenger sitting behind him was not respecting his personal space. So this was the photo he put on Snapchat or TikTok or one of those platforms, where the woman sitting behind him had slid her feet under the chair in front of her to the point where it came down. He could look down and see those well manicured tootsies down there in flip flops, which he thought was nasty. Brian, you are. This is very similar to your issue on the train. How do you feel this should have been handled?
I think he should have stepped on her feet until she moved them. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, he's obviously stretching his feet forward. There's nothing stopping him from moving these feet into a 90-degree angle and stepping on on this person's toes. That's exactly how I would have handled it. I would have stepped on this person's toes.
So apparently, he opened up his water bottle and spilled a little of the water on her foot, to which she then pulled her feet back. I mean, in all defense, is it possible this person did not know that was how far forward she had slid her feet? Because I don't think you can tell from the seat behind if your feet are poking out.
No, you have no idea. You have no idea. I'm going to have to believe that she didn't know. But I've also seen video. I've also seen video and footage, photos where people have put their feet up.
Oh yeah,
on the top of the headrest, the person in front of them. I've also seen them where the person by the window tries to put their feet in between the seat in front of them and the window, so you're sitting there and there's like a foot right off to your shoulder. Yeah, there's some awful behavior on public transportation.
I mean, I think we can all agree you should have foot coverings when you're on a plane. You should not be on a plane with bare feet. Unless you own the plane and are flying private, it's disgusting. And people are disgusting enough as it is. We don't need anything adding to it.
No. Put some socks on, people.
Put some socks, some shoes. I mean, even the flip-flops, I think, are questionable on a flight.
I wouldn't do flip-flops. But at the same time, Ron, You manicure your feet like that. You go get yourself a pedicure. Using your Lee press-on nails or whatever it's called, and you look real nice. You want to show those babies off. You're not going to put a sock on. Let's be serious. Let's be honest.
But I
here.
think, I can show them off afterwards. I can show them off walking onto the plane, but maybe I have a little, some Crocs maybe to slip it into.
Fucking hell.
I know that's even more horrifying.
I hate Crocs with a passion.
Going down to Tennessee, Brian, a self-professed serial killer who calls himself the Michael Myers of Tennessee was just given 159 years in prison for
Jesus.
3 slayings. This is on top of the 102-year sentence he had received for killing his pregnant girlfriend and her unborn child. This lovely photo here is of Joshua Dotson, age 24, who pled guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of and 3 counts of reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon.
Jesus,
it's a look. I don't know why
really,
the desire to get that many face tattoos.
I don't get a face tattoo. I don't understand it. You are so there was a comedian recently that had a joke where they said, if you're getting a face tattoo, it's your way of saying to society, you're okay with minimum wage jobs.
You're okay. You're saying I'm checking out from society at this point.
But it's literally just covered his whole face with them, and it looks like just chicken scratch.
And they had put up a shot of him when he was arrested a couple of years back. It looks like he has gotten the majority of those face tattoos while in jail.
Oh, because
like he had some, but he has definitely amped it up since then.
Your jail has tattoos. They don't have the same training, the same tutelage, the mentoring. You're not getting that, in a prison tattoo person. You're not doing it. Your tattoo artists there in prison, they don't have the same level of training that you're going to see in a professional shop. It's just
you're not getting the steady hand. You're not getting the good equipment.
Of course,
you're not getting the good ink. I mean, it's just there's a lot going on there. Brian, I sent this suggestion to you this past week. As you know, I got married in Las Vegas. I have recommended to you, maybe you go out and get married in Las Vegas. And to amp it up, you can now get married at a Taco Bell in Las Vegas for just $777. They have started to advertise this on a website. It gives you basically what you see on the screen here. You get some tacos, you get some cinnamon bites, you get a Mr. and Mrs. t-shirt, and all the sauce you can drink, and a couple of glasses of Baja Blast. Anything additional guests or anything like that, you do need to pay for. Brian, how do you feel about Vegas Taco Bell wedding?
I'm going to say a hard pass on this. I cannot. I think the level of diarrhea that I would have within 45 minutes of this food.
Understood. All
Couldn't
right.
Do it.
We'll keep looking for a venue then.
Thank you. Please.
There was a lot of discussion this past week about our beloved Major League Baseball team, New York Yankees, where they had lifted the facial hair ban that had been in place since the 70s when George Steinbrenner bought the team and enacted it. Now the team players can have moderately trimmed,
neatly trimmed, moderately groomed. Listen, the Yankees are entering the modern age of baseball. Listen, I'm not a huge proponent of this league change, rule change.
Okay.
I'm going to say this. I don't want the Yankees to start looking like the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't want to say anything derogatory about the athletes in your town.
Of course not.
Christ, your football team, they look like upstanding people. Your baseball players, no offense, Ron, because I know that you are Philly adjacent, so that you don't properly rep Philly, but
sure.
It looks like you just took a high school team from Pennsylvania and decided that that's going to be the look. I do believe you should be able to grow your hair a little longer. You should be able to keep it neat.
There's been some outrage, though. We've seen a number of people outraged about
Sure.
this change. Do you feel it's really that big of a deal?
I think that there are certain people that are just incredibly close-minded when it comes to change. And they sit there and go, this is my Yankees, and I want them the way they were yesterday and the day before, and I don't want there to be any change. Baseball is trying to, keep up with the times. They made some rule changes recently, try to speed up the game, to try to cut down on the length of extra inning games, so people can go home in a normal hour. This is just one of many steps to making baseball a little bit of a friendlier game towards the next generation, because the youth, they're so much wiser than we give them credit for, and it's time that we give them the sport of baseball for them to appreciate.
You believe the children are the future?
Teach them well and let them lead the way, Ron.
There you go. Another big change from the Yankees organization is they have announced that they are going to stop playing Frank Sinatra's New York, New York after losses. Today, at a loss in spring training, they played That's Life instead of New York, New York. Good change, bad change, or irrelevant?
I see. I like New York, New York at the end of the game.
Yeah. Even win or lose, you don't mind it?
No, not at all. I like the fact that they would play the Liza Minnelli version when we would lose and Frank when we would win. I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, I think that's a good play. Well, another change coming to the Yankees this season.
I'm okay with change.
All right. Change can be good. Change can be good.
And I was surprised. Some of the voices that you saw on social media this week complaining about this change. They wanted their Yankees to be, beardless, mustachioed-less.
I mean, some people said they wanted them hairless. They wanted to actually go wax the players themselves. So it's just looks like a fully shorn baby up there swinging the bat. Not us.
Ron, when you say some people, are you talking about yourself?
No, not at all.
Sure.
I do have a question for you, Brian. You ready for it?
Sure.
What are you watching?
Ooh, okay. The big thing this week was on Netflix, American Murder, Gabby Petito. Yep. This was a story that was the rage. I believe it was 2021. A young white girl, blonde hair, originally from Long Island, meets up with this guy, moves down to Florida to live with his parents for a couple months. And then they decide they're going to buy a van and they're going to travel America, making YouTube videos about their, vlogs about their van life. And that's going to be their jobs. Unfortunately, as they're driving west in Utah, it seems as if her life came to a tragic end. We'll never know exactly what happened, as he's also dead.
Yeah,
of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
Yes. What did you think of the documentary? I had forgotten a lot of the parts of the story. I felt it was a good length, 50-minute episodes.
3:45. Correct.
Pretty quickly. Horrible story. And at the end of the day, and I know you and I disagreed about this, really did not show Brian Laundrie's parents in the best light, even though they were attempting to defend their son.
Okay. Let's cut through the chase here, people.
All right.
This is really because this says a lot about who Ron is and who I am as a person. The story goes here is that they this boy and this girl driving. The boy calls his parents one day from Utah. Their phone records show that he called them. Then he flies home to Florida without the girl. Does not call the girl's parents to say, "Hey, I'm back."
Right.
Her parents just suddenly don't hear from her for 2 weeks before they reach out to the cops. The cops go to visit his parents' house. And basically, his parents sit there and say to the cops, and this is all on body cam footage. If you remember in episode 38, I said all police should be wearing body cam.
You did. This
cameras.
Is straight from your mouth.
So, and it's a wild scene in the documentary because the cops show up to the parents' house and it knocks on the door and says, "Hey, can we talk to you? We have some questions about your son and his girlfriend." And the cops are like, and the parents just say to the cops, "Yeah, we're not comfortable talking to you. We have nothing to say. Please contact our lawyer." Cop says, "Do you know where do you know where your son is?" They're like, "Oh yeah, he's here." And they're like, "Well,
but he's not talking to anybody."
He's like, "He's not talking to anyone." No. Then he goes missing like 3 days later. But the point is that his parents do not assist the police in the search for this girl. Not one bit. They just sit there and go, "We're not talking to the cops. Go to our lawyer and deal with them." End of the documentary, you realize that the parents have been chastised from their community. Chastised? I don't think I used that right word.
Ostracized?
Ostracized, that's what I'm going for. By their community. All of their neighbors absolutely hate them. People walk their dogs in the neighborhood directly to their house, let their dogs poop on the lawn, and then they just walk away without cleaning it. Like, it is wild. Literally will just stand in front of the house and scream at the parents when the parents leave to go to their car or whatnot. And I simply have the stance of these parents were trying to protect their son. And while, albeit I may have, answered a few more questions, at the end of the day, I am not turning my son in to the cops. I wouldn't turn in a close friend or whatnot either. I might just stop answering questions or whatnot. I would answer if legally required by a court of law. But short of that, I'm not going to sit there and be like, "Oh, yeah, my son's here. We had a talk last night. He told me he killed her in the middle of a national park." I'm not doing that. And I guess that there's like this belief out there from people that that's the proper way to carry yourself. You're supposed to sit there and go, "Oh, yeah, my son's a killer. He's in there. Go in and arrest him." Wild to me, because you even said, "Oh, his parents, what a piece of shit. They're terrible." I'm like, no, they were protecting their kid. Like, wouldn't your mother do the same for you?
But they didn't protect him to the point where he was able to sneak away and go off and kill himself. So what protection at the end of the day did they really afford him?
Well, a lifetime of prison life. That's what they protected him from. That kid was going to be a bottom. There is no doubt that he was going to be walking around prison. His T-shirt would have been tied off. It would have been tied off in the center like this.
Right.
And he would have just been like walking around.
He would have been holding on to somebody's bandana stuck in their back pocket.
Yes. There is no way that he was going to survive prison life without a drastic expansion of his rectum. He looked like the kind of guy who would have had all of his teeth knocked out on day 3 so that the other prisoners could just use him for their sexual gratification. They saved him from all of that. That's what they did.
You don't think his parents should have had any type of empathy towards Gabby Petito's parents? Like, I get it.
Empathy,
protecting your son, getting him a lawyer, but not helping these parents know the fate of their daughter or even where their daughter's remains may have been left.
Howard, you're assuming that they knew. Maybe he just said, "Listen, something happened. I can't talk about it. It's terrible. I don't want to get you guys in trouble, so I can't tell you. If you know too much, then you may get in trouble. So the less you know, the better it is."
And the mom with that letter. So the mom writes a letter to her son and literally puts in parentheses after it, "burn after reading," which clearly the kid just can't follow directions because he didn't burn it after he read it. He held on to it.
Fucking idiot.
And Allie bringing up a good point. Brian thinking that suicide is a better alternative to being raped.
Yes, it is a better alternative to a lifetime of prison rape. Yes. Hold on.
You're clarifying it. You're clarifying it to be prison rape. I understand now.
You're telling me that you would be okay staying alive in prison where you are going to be the bottom for the next 40 some odd years. You would be okay that that's a better life than just ending it now.
Agree to
Because
disagree.
I would kill
What-
myself. If I got sentenced to a long prison stay, I am killing myself.
You're not
I am
made
not
for
going
prison.
in.
I get that.
I am not made for prison because I will also be sitting there walking in holding my custom issued pillow with the blanket, my white shoes, the little white tennis shoes, like a
Yep,
t-shirt, whatnot, and I'll be sitting there saying, "Whose bandana needs to be held?" I do. Like I'm not going to survive it well. I will be raped multiple times, multiple ways, and I'd rather just die first.
What else are you watching, Brian?
White Lotus is back on
Oh, that's
HBO
right.
Max. Last Sunday was the first episode. We are now in Thailand. Season 1 was in Hawaii. Season 2 was in Italy. We go to Thailand now. Introduced to some interesting characters in episode 1. If you have not seen it, give it a shot. Not much happens in season 1. I think we're really just starting to discover who the different characters are.
Okay.
And then, of course, also still going this past Friday, episode 6 of season 2 of Severance came out on Apple. If you're not watching Severance, you are missing out in the week by week analysis of these episodes. So catch up, people.
All right. Would you like to know
what are you
I'm
watching, Ron?
So I did watch American Monster, the Gabby Petito story, as we just discussed. Today we watched a movie called Companion. It was in the theaters about a month ago. It stars Sophie Thatcher, Jack Quaid. So it is basically it's about a weekend getaway. It takes place some point in the future. Where people can have relationship robots, but they don't know that the robots don't know that they are robots. And so one of them just goes on a bit of a killing spree. So it's like a sci-fi horror black comedy. Very good. It's like an hour and 37 minutes. Very watchable, very entertaining. I would definitely recommend it. And then also tonight on Netflix, I caught the first episode of their new series called 0 Day. So this is
De Niro,
Lizzie Kaplan, Jesse Plemons, Angela Bassett. Great lineup. So it is the premise is there is a tremendous cyber attack on the United States. Robert De Niro is a former president picked to head up a commission to investigate the 0 Day incident. But he also potentially could be losing his mind. He hears things and sees things that aren't there. So I don't know how this is going to play out through the rest of the series, but you clearly see he's a very competent individual, but he's also has these moments where he can't trust his mind or his eyes or his ears. Yeah.
Jesus. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will watch that. Hey.
It's funny. Laugh. What other stories do we have here, Brian? Oh, these online challenges, we've talked about them before. This one is another one that has turned fatal. Yes, yet again. A 14-year-old boy from Brazil has died after injecting himself with butterfly remains. Davy Nunez Moreira started to vomit and developed a limp after mixing a dead butterfly in water and injecting the liquid into his leg. He told his dad that he had hurt himself while playing, but then confessed what really happened after he continued growing sicker and was admitted to a hospital. His dad also found the syringe his son had used hidden under the boy's pillow. He ended up succumbing to his injuries linked to possible toxins in the butterfly mix that caused his body to shut down as he went into septic shock.
Yikes. Why? Obviously, do you have any idea where the logic is in butterfly remains being injected into you?
I don't. And that's, the police are investigating why he would have done this. There have been some rumors that it could have been one of these online challenges, but no one has come up with anything that would support that theory. Listen, I remember being a teenager and doing some dumb stuff. I don't know that I would have ever injected a butterfly into my leg. I feel bad for the kid, but I feel like it's something you kind of bring on yourself when you play with syringes.
Do you really feel that bad for him?
I do. Yeah. Listen, the kid was 14. We've all done dumb stuff when we were teenagers.
Yeah, but I don't know. I never injected dead butterflies into my body.
No, but what was the thing at the time that I bet you had Pop Rocks and soda.
I never did that. I was afraid. I was afraid to die.
You're afraid of being like Mikey and having your stomach explode?
Yeah, I didn't want to die.
Another very tragic accident happened when a power lifter was crushed to death during a training session in India. Brian, you brought this story to the table. Tell us what happened here.
Listen, people, tragedy has a way of striking in many, many different ways. This story, I believe, what country did it take place
From
in?
India.
Well, are we sure about that?
I believe it just said it in the article.
I appreciate it, Ron, because now I remember why you asked me to read the story. You don't want to say her name. But Ron, I believe in supporting women regardless of how many pounds they can lift. Ron, do you have a photo of Yashtika Akara?
Well, we have a photo of the accident as it happened here.
She is a 17-year-old. Are you going to show the video?
We don't have the video. We just have
good.
Still
I don't want to
photo.
watch her die. I do not want to watch this young lady die. She was taking part in a training session in India earlier this week. She was trying to squat 600 pounds as she was lifting the weight above her head. And I keep in mind, her trainer was spotting her from behind. I wish Janelle was on the show right now to discuss her this young lady's form to see if that might have had something to do with the accident. However, her legs almost immediately buckle, and her spotters appears to be powerless to stop her from falling backward. As she's falling, the bar falls down and snaps onto her neck as she is bent over underneath it, passes away immediately. If they say, the use of the word tragedy maybe tends to be overused, but this is a perfect example of it. This young lady had such a bright and wonderful future, snapped out there because she was trying to weigh too much, carry too much weight.
How much do you squat, Brian? I know you've been a gym rat lately. What are you squatting these days?
About 450.
All right. So, but you'll be careful when you get up to 600, I would assume, based on this incident here.
Listen, I'm going to keep pushing it forward until I can do 900.
You're going to be like Mark Henry, the world's strongest man.
Is that what he benches?
I don't know. He could lift a lot. He was a power lifter.
There you go.
All right. Next up, before we run out of time, we did want to get to one of our most popular bits. But the drag queens are the problem. We continually search for stories where drag queens, as intimated by the far right, are a danger to children. We've got 3. Let's see how many drag queens are listed here. Our first one here is, let's take a look, Brian. No, this is a former Long Island teacher arrested in New Jersey after posing as a minor online to chat sexually and try to solicit naked pictures of 2 children under the age of 13. This mugshot is of Ryan McCaffrey, a 37-year-old Ridge resident and once high school educator. He was arrested on 2nd-degree sexual assault, 3rd-degree child endangerment, and 4th-degree lewdness charges. Under the screen name Ashker Conlon 2, McCaffrey separately requested news photos and engaged in sexual acts while video chatting with the victims. Just a horrible story.
Disgusting.
He will be facing 30 years in prison if convicted on all of these charges.
Now, Ron, when this man goes to prison, what are your thoughts in terms of will he be doing the raping? Will he be the victim of the rape in the prison cells?
I mean,
I'm going to
typically, child molesters do not historically do well in prison.
It's the little mustache, right? That's going to hold him back.
I don't know if it's the mustache. Just there does seem to be a code of honor in U.S. prisons, and they do not like child abusers. Let's move on to
which is so odd because everybody's a criminal in there. Yet somehow they have a code of ethics.
Even criminals have code of conduct.
What are they, Omar from The Wire? Sorry.
Let's see this next one. If they have, if this is a drag queen, and no, Brian, this is a high school staffer from Idaho. This is Mary Strong. She is a 53-year-old teaching assistant at Tammany High School. She was allegedly filmed engaged in sex acts with a student on campus. However, she told police that she may have been too drunk to remember anything about it. She was charged with an inappropriate relationship with a 16 or 17-year-old victim. She allegedly sent the student explicit photos and videos on Snapchat and then was caught on camera engaging in sex acts with the student on school grounds. She has denied all of the allegations, telling investigators she has no memory of them, possibly because she was drunk.
So she was drunk at work?
Apparently, yes.
Jesus.
So she
obviously from the photo here, Ron, I think she could be a drag queen.
So she has been charged with sexual battery with a minor. Judge has set her bond at $100,000. She has been placed on administrative leave while her case goes through the court system.
Yeah, we definitely don't want her working in the school.
No,
definitely
this is still
not going on. I mean, that's scary.
All right, this final story here in But the Drag Queens. This has to be a drag queen story. And no, this is actually the story of 3 Michigan children being found left living alone in absolute squalor after their mother abandoned them for years. Here is a photo of the inside of the house when the police came in to I guess they were getting complaints from neighbors saying that, like, we haven't seen the parents, the kids need to be unkempt. So the 34-year-old mother was arrested last week. They have not released her name to protect the identity of her children, aged 15, 13, and 12. Human waste and mold were found inside the home. Garbage was thrown everywhere, and the children survived on weekly drop-offs of prepared food.
Who do we know? Did it say who's dropping off the food?
It does not say.
Like, was the mother doing it, or the mother just abandoned these kids?
It doesn't really say. They believe the initial abandonment was in the spring or summer of 2020. They believe the last time the mother left hygiene items was in 2020 when she dropped off garbage bags, gloves, and Febreze. Towards the end, children apparently were getting a loaf of bread dropped off that was supposed to last 3 to 4 days. The boy slept on a mattress on the floor, and the girls slept on pizza boxes.
Fucking hell. I hope some terrible things happen to this woman.
Yeah, so she has been charged.
And the father. I don't know who the father is. You're not talking about the father here. Whichever, whoever is responsible.
So here we go. The children's father had been incarcerated for a period of time. When he got out, he filed paperwork in court for visitation. An agreement was reached in 2022, but the mother allegedly refused to let him see the children. They have since been placed in the custody of a relative.
Jesus, this is sad. I mean, can you imagine that relative? The kids come over and you're like, all right, these are your rooms. This is where you're going to sleep. And they immediately start smearing, feces on the walls. Like, I would be, I mean, my heart goes out to those people.
All right. And people say you have no heart, Brian. They don't realize how much you love.
This heart bleeds. This heart bleeds for what's best.
And Brian, Kanye West came out earlier this week and said he's decided he's not a Nazi. So he is. We're all good. He came to that conclusion after giving a shout out to Adam Sandler, and said, after further reflection, he said this on Twitter: "I have come to the realization I am not a Nazi." So we're all good.
Are we? Is he not fucking insane?
He there's a lot going on. We talked the other week about his Super Bowl ad and how it went to his site, which just was selling a T-shirt with a swastika on it. His posts on Twitter lately have been insane. Like what was one he put down? Oh, you telling me if you were a hermaphrodite, you wouldn't stick your dick in your own pussy?
These are thoughts of a 7-year-old.
So, but he's not a Nazi, Brian. So he's all set. So hopefully he sticks with it.
We don't have to worry about it
because he has often in the past said that he's fine with Jews, and then every few years that whole anti-Semitic thing just kind of swings back around on him.
Yeah, I don't know that Kanye is a good person.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he might be troubled.
I would agree with you. I think
just potentially.
Yes, he doesn't seem to be the same since his mother passed.
No. And that can have an impact on people. I don't know if it necessarily makes you a Nazi all the time, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Sure.
Brian, you talked about being on the train. Do you want to tell people a little bit about where you were this weekend?
I was in an area that I like to refer to as Philly adjacent. You and the missus opened your doors to a very small select crew that were invited for the only word I can come up with for was a proper dinner party, where you had curated a menu, a 10-course tasting menu. We had spicy tuna on crispy rice. We had some beef tenderloin, which you had sous vide because you're bougie. We had some amazing smoked corn chowder.
Corn chowder, yep. We had the cucumber gazpacho shooters. We had the burrata with some shaved peach and tomato. Don't forget the seared scallops with the cauliflower puree.
The cauliflower puree was such a hit. No, I'm going to be honest with you. You outdid yourself. You exceeded expectations. Really, just an amazing job. You should hold your head up high, Brian.
Listen, I wanted to do something memorable. I wanted to do something to test myself, and I'm just glad it worked out. For those of you wondering where your invitation may have been, we gave that to any Patreon member pledging at the $50 a month level or higher. We will do these special events for Patreon members. But the most special thing we do for Patreon members is every Sunday night after this show, we do Ron and Brian After Dark. It's a little bit saucier. It's a little bit sexier than some of our other episodes. Normally it is a half hour, but tonight, the last Sunday of the month, we do a 1 hour After Dark. We let our Patreon subscribers come on and join us, and we do a trivia contest. And tonight it is, can you beat Brian? Brian, you do not know what the topic is for tonight. Can you beat Brian? Do you?
No, I do not know, but I am looking forward to it.
So you lost, I believe, the last Can You Beat Brian.
I did lose 2 months ago, yes.
If you beat Brian, we make a $25 donation to a charity of your choice. And like Brian said, it's not too late to join. You join at the $10 a month level or higher. You go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. You click in the upper right-hand corner. You put your credit card number down, and we can get you the link. We're starting in, 26 minutes?
You got time. You got plenty of time.
Plenty of time to, go to the bedroom, get your wallet, get the credit card number. Listen, if you want, just DM us your credit card details and we will take care of everything for you. Brian, talk to me your feelings getting ready for Can You Beat Brian on tonight's pajama party.
I think the message here is redemption. I'm better prepared than I was 2 months ago. I feel like I'm centered.
Okay.
There's the distractions I've pushed out. There's no noise going on in my brain. I'm in better shape than I've ever been in my life.
All right.
Can you beat Brian?
I look forward to it. I'm excited about it, and I wish you the best. I mean, I do. There is a slight part of me that enjoys watching you lose, but that's just because I know money is going to be going to a worthwhile cause.
Really? That's kind of hurtful.
Yeah, a little bit. Anything else, Brian, before we wrap things up on this edition here?
Yes, I would like to give a shout out to my local representative in Congress. Earlier this week, I received this certificate in the mail. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, Ron, but that is a certificate that that basically this flag that I am holding in my hands was flown above the U.S. Capitol. My local representative, the Honorable Robert Menendez of Congress, he's a fan of the podcast. He had this flag fly above the Capitol in honor of the Ron and Brian podcast. He had reached out to me 2 weeks ago after the Super Bowl and basically wanted to say, hey, I'm sorry that you did not win the Super Bowl bet, but what I'm going to do, because I am a fan of the show, is I'm going to have a flag, an American flag flown above the Capitol, and I'm going to make sure that that you guys basically get the level of respect that you deserve. And I just think that that's incredible. You may ask who Robert Menendez is, and I'm going to tell you he's a family man. He's a man. There's a photo of him and his father. They're very close. His father looks like a great, upstanding member of our society. Does not look like the kind of man that would commit any crimes whatsoever. Cory Booker, famed New Jersey politician there. Yep. That is Robert Menendez all the way on the right. I would like to personally thank him for this flag. I'm going to hold it near and dear to me as a sign of honor and just utter integrity, because that's what you want from your politicians here in New Jersey, utter integrity.
Listen, and that's a tight fold on that flag. As someone who was in Cub Scouts, that is an impressive fold on the Stars and Stripes, 100%.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. We appreciate everyone out there sharing the last hour plus with us. Again, we encourage you to go to our Patreon, click on the button to subscribe, join us on After Dark. Otherwise, Brian, let's just do this all again one more time next Sunday night. Anything else before we cut on out?
Love America. Love America.
All right. We'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again.